am Manijeh Motaghy, your host, and we have Matthew Law here, your co-host. And this is our monthly connection hour, the 26th one, the last one for this year. And we are very excited to be with you to just connect and share our wisdom, our compassion, our affection for each other, and maybe share some tools, some words of wisdom that are helpful to people during this time of the year, during lifetime, during a lot of things are happening around the world. A lot of change are happening constantly with all the AI, artificial intelligence that's out there. Change is rapid. And so we humans have to just be with it, chop, chop, get with the program. And so we are impacted in many different ways, and we still would like to keep our humanity intact, keep our humanity alive, keep our humanity uplifted and well nourished. So that's really the goal of these connection hours that we are having. So we have a very special guest also, Eric Cooley. He will be speaking with us later on, but I'd like to give also give the floor to Matthew so you can say hello and your greeting and welcome and anything that's on your mind, Matthew.
Sure, thank you, Manijeh. I think we've had a really amazing year in terms of Connection Hour. We've consistently had meetings every month and a lot of really interesting guests. And we want to grow that into 2023 as well. That's something that I think that we really want to celebrate and give gratitude for. We've also had some really good events at your place too, Manijeh, which I was able to attend a couple myself in person, and that's something else we want to continue as well. So I think the whole point of today with Eric is to give a reflection on 2022 and to think about what we want to do from an intention point of view into 2023 as well. We certainly would like to continue with the concept of inviting different people to come and talk and to really take it to the next place and and grow it as well, not only with people coming together, but also in sharing how we do our recordings and spread the different topics that we have from a Connection Hour point of view. It has been a very interesting year in that we've had a lot of different challenges within society. People have found it difficult from a point of view of inflation, or there's been different conflicts in the world and different social challenges that we have to all face. But it's also been a year we've been able to travel again and to actually meet again in person, which has been very interesting for myself. For example, the fact that I was able to travel from Europe to Los Angeles and spend time with you all as well. So that's been really a great thing about 2022, and hopefully how do we play that into 2023. So that's kind of how I see today, a reflection and celebration of the year gone by, and then what we want to think about is happening in 2023 as well.
Thank you so much. Yes, Matthew. Another exciting thing that you were talking about before we came online is that we've been working really hard on creating the course for therapists and teachers and coaches, all kinds of teachers that are out there with meditation, with mindfulness, with spiritual practices that they want to put out. And a lot of people have gone through a lot of different trainings and are ready to, excited, passionate to put their knowledge, to put their spiritual learning, to put their mindfulness tools and learning out to people. And it's difficult, it's very difficult when you have it in you, you feel it, you have it, and then wanting to depart it, wanting to teach it to others, not having a perfected sort of a model or or a step-by-step tool to do it. And so I'm really excited to also announce that our methodology that I've been really working on perfecting for many, 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 many years um, is going to be launched in January 17 and 18. And it's called, well, this is basically for that group of people, which is called Power Up Your Therapy and Coaching Practice with this optimization, life optimization methodology, which is a 5 stages, very, very clear stages based on mindfulness and based on really well-rounded, full sort of a spectrum of development, and that applies to 3 dimensions of life intelligence. So, I mean, I've been talking about this forever. I've been teaching it, and now we have this course to improve, to enhance, to whatever modality people are using, whatever approach or attitude or approach they're using, this could definitely really power it up. And so Matthew's been involved. We've all been really, a lot of us working on this. And so I'm really proud to announce that. And I'll put a link into the chat if anybody wants to know more about it. But those of you who are here, go ahead and write in the chat room, where are you zooming in from? What is your profession? And what is your most favorite jungle animal? Let's do that. Let's get you guys engaged. Let's us not be a one-way thing that we're doing. Where are you zooming from? What's your profession? What's your most favorite jungle animal? Just three words, I guess. And that would be really great to see. And also, don't want to forget, we have a young man here who's wonderful, who is really, just his soul is beautiful, compassionate, loving, and wants to be of service to the world. Luke, my dear, he's here, and he's working on a project to help the world. And the last I heard, it was to be able to be of service to those who are unhoused. If you were here last month, we had a really great speaker who helped us reframe homelessness into people who are unhoused. And because a lot of these people are not addicts or alcoholics or, unhoused because of mental illness, which is most of our thinking, but really because of many other circumstances that this happens to. So Luke might be sharing something. Would you like to do that now, Luke? Why don't you do that before we get into yeah.
Sure, thank you. Sorry if the music is loud, but the basic idea, and honestly, Matthew, when you were talking, it hit me for sure on the celebration and reflection. And my intention moving forward is to do as much work in person as possible. And I have some friends who are in DC and in Seattle and in Brooklyn. And each week on Sunday, we're going out and helping people who are homeless. And it's just one friend brings a bunch of socks in a backpack, and another is working with food and bringing people food, and just slowly starting to create community around solving problems in person. And to back all that up, I've been building an app, and the app is a way for you to post what you're doing. And so you can start sharing and seeing people from different cities across the US and eventually around the world who are going out each week and going to help people who are homeless. And I strongly believe it's deeper than a belief. It just, for me, it's something I just know, is that if everyone looks at their life or what's going on in the world as a series of decisions, and you can say, I'm going to go out every week and just help a homeless person and make it fun and bring your friends along and your family, and soon enough you could get 50,000 people in Boston to go out and help someone who's homeless and really end a problem like that. And so that's what I'm focused on now. It's at the very early stages, but I'm very focused on just having fun in person with the people you're around, and as well as doing amazing things like this where there's no other medium to connect but digitally. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm working on. If anyone is interested, I am very open-minded to talking and would love to learn from what you're doing too.
Well, we'll have you come and do, when you have your program together, maybe we'll do a special session for you, or the next month connection hour, or whenever you have it ready, that we could help you with broadcasting it or putting it out to our network or whatever. Please let us know, because it's good for people to have a way to, to plug in. And so, yeah, everybody, we are humans. We need each other. We cannot survive alone. Nobody can. And if anybody thinks that I am so independent, I'm 100% independent and alone and take care of myself, no, think again. No, you still have to buy your food and your clothes and your gas and your, whatever you need. We have a social system that is both global and local, and so the unhoused are related to us. They are our brothers and sisters and fathers and children. They are, and so we can expand our hearts of kindness in whatever way we can. So thank you, Luke, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Matthew, did you want to put people in breakout rooms before the speaker or after Eric speaks? What were your thoughts? Oh, by the way, let's look at the chat room and see what people said. Yeah, Los Angeles children's mindfulness teacher, favorite jungle is jaguar. Very nice. Holland and panther, okay. Entrepreneur and elephant. Shermanox, composer, elephants, New York, and panther too. Okay, so these are jungle animals. Remember, we have panther is a winner today. Okay, so go
What's
ahead.
yours?
Oh,
What's yours,
mine,
Manijeh?
jungle animal. Oh, you saw in my house, deer, doe. I think I was a deer in a past life or something. They're everywhere. Yeah, and as far as the in person, I've made a lot of friends through these Zoom meetings, and I've made an effort to go visit them in different cities. I've gone and visited Matthew in Holland. I've visited a few people in London. I've visited people in Nashville, in Connecticut, in Massachusetts, in different places. And so please, if you're ever in Los Angeles, if you don't live here and you are in Los Angeles, come visit us, make time and look us up. You could come stay with us. You could come and retreat with us, or just have tea and coffee. So make an effort to build these relationships. I really recommend it. It's very fulfilling. So I'm going to take myself off and let you handle it, Matthew.
So what I think we should do, Manijeh, is what we did at the in-person retreat last month, and you can tell the story about the origin of the talking stick. And I think we're enough people where we can pass the talking stick around and just have a reflection here. Shouldn't take too long. What do you think about that? So why don't you talk about when we were have an in-person retreat at your place and the origin of the talking stick first?
Oh, okay, yeah. So usually at the end of a retreat, we gather around and we put a candle on, and just imagine we are like the natives would do it. They would sit around a fire and they would share stories. They would share wisdom stories, and they have a stick that they would give it, pass it around. And I have one here too. Pass it around. Just imagine this is the stick. And what they do is when somebody is holding the stick to share whatever they'd like to share, everybody else is listening carefully. Everybody is honoring this person. They're not thinking about their own circumstances. They're not thinking about what they're gonna share, but really being present. And this is something that most of you do have a practice with. and listening. And so for a minute or two, maybe I mean, if we think about minute or two, it may take just a minute or so, maybe. And then when you are done, you see who wants to, I mean, I don't know if it's easy here to do it here, if who wants to take the stick and talk. So in person, we don't put it down, we keep it in the air, right? And so maybe you can watch and see who wants to go next, and then you can call on them to share. And this is, the topic is, maybe we can leave it open. What's on your mind? What's on your heart? What would you like to share with some friends who are kind, compassionate, who are non-judgmental, who are caring? And Eric, I'm sure it would help his presentation, as he's going to talk to us about mindfulness during this time and how to be with difficulties of life. And so any, you know, in other sessions, I hear people say, talk about some wins you've had. What are some wins? And I'm like, wins, okay, you know, okay. So if that language makes sense to you, you could talk about something that's going really well for you, or you could talk about something that's maybe not so easy, whatever you like. And so the talking stick goes to the first person who raises their hand. You could use the reaction and raise your hand, or since we're not that many, just unmute yourself and go for it.
I'll go ahead and start.
Go ahead, yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Randy. I'm in Los Angeles. And I was just thinking of something to add after Luke was talking. Just something great that a friend of mine does as far as helping the homeless. Whenever she travels in a hotel, she takes all the lotion, the shampoo, all the little bottles that often we don't utilize, and she collects them. And she puts them in little bags and she keeps them in her car. And often a homeless person may approach you when you're driving in your car, and she doesn't give them money, but she'll reach into her back seat and she'll give them a little care package. So that was just something I think about that. I haven't gotten to the extent of packaging them, but I've begun to collect them because I think they're probably going to throw them away anyways. So just a little thought that could be helpful. I thought that was really sweet. That's my friend Tracy Manijeh that you just met. She's the one that does that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in a good place. I love my practice. I'm very conscious of how blessed I am to be mindful, to be non-judgmental. I was talking with a friend about another friend who's going through some difficulty, and she thought I was kind of, well, she used the term lip service, giving them lip service, telling them what they wanted to hear. And I said my perspective was that I was being kind and compassionate towards their plight. And in some respect, maybe I was telling them what they wanted to hear, but it came from a place of kindness and being supportive. So I just like, I'm an optimist, so I'll choose to speak about positivity and just how we can all really focus on upping our awareness and on our behavior and how we're treating people, how we're thinking about people. Another friend of mine was talking to me, and he said something about another person. And I said, wow, that's like really judgmental. And we began to talk, and he said, yes, I'm very judgmental. And this person is pretty, I'll just say, kind of hard-headed, opposite of myself. And we had a little discussion, and we talked about life. And he expressed that he wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of the unknown. So I gave him some of my reflections on that. Now, I believe we're something before we're born, hence we're something after we leave this realm. And much to my surprise, later in the day, he sent me a couple of very kind texts about our chat and how it gave him a new perspective. And it was just expressing a lot of gratitude. So here, this was a person that I thought, oh, he's a tough nut to crack, so to speak. Not that I was trying to do anything. So it was nice. It was enlightening. It just goes to show you when you persist with kindness and compassion, it can make a difference. So it's just something for everybody to keep in the front of their mind, is the way we act really does affect people. And,
Thank you, Randy. That's great. Yeah. Randy is one of our meditation teachers also. He's Friday morning, 7:30 a.m. PDT. It's a live meditation for free. I put a link there in the chat. If anybody's interested to meditate live with somebody over Zoom, you could do that. Yeah. So anybody else would like to share? And this is not, mandatory. Anybody can pass. That was one other thing. The talking stick can be not picked up. And welcome, Surma. I know you came in a little bit later, but it's good to see you again. You've been with us before. You're muted.
I can go next.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, when I think about 2022, as I said, I feel like it's been a very challenging year for a lot of different reasons. I think we've, the people have come out to traveling again, but we've been hit with like very expensive travel, inflation, war in Europe. It's been quite tough, but with all these challenges going on, I have a lot of gratitude as well. I'm really happy with the community we've been building as well. I mean, being there in person with you and Randy was a fantastic experience, and I saw that not only for myself but other people that attended in person was really amazing. I've been to several of the Monday and Friday morning meditations. I think that's awesome. I've had a lot of Zoom Sangha with different groups this year, and that's been incredible too. And also the work we did with Planet Positive and with Luke being in person in The Hague, and then the global mythologies. This is like incredibly important work that we've been offering our own service and seeing a lot of personal growth from that, but I think it's really contributing to a bigger cause too. So there's a lot it's incredible when you really reflect how much has really grown this year. And then particularly now, this year's been you had your sabbatical, and then coming out of that, we've had the whole incubation and growth of the different courses and trainings you're going to offer next year with life optimization model and everything. So, and it's really staggering is what I'm saying. It's staggering how many people have been involved and connected with, and then staggering about all the amount of work that we've also done both personally and as a group as well. So there's a lot to be proud of, and I think to celebrate too.
Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, it's nice to be, to take an inventory of what we've done, and all of you the same, taking an inventory of your life and see what you've done, and not always thinking about things that are not finished. I haven't done this yet. I haven't done that yet. And I'm blessed that Matthew has been reminding me, Manijeh, we've accomplished a lot. And so thank you for that. So Claudia, go for it. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I guess it's perfect timing. I'll piggyback on what Matthew said. It's been a really difficult year. But on the other side, without all these struggles and hardships that come my way, I wouldn't know how strong I can be. I wouldn't know new gifts that I embody. I wouldn't know that, you know, as much as my life may seem to myself that it may be crumbling, it is making way for the life that I am asking for. So I give thanks to those things that seem so difficult and so hard, and I felt alone even though I wasn't. That it just let me see a different aspect of myself. And I also grateful for this community always, even though sometimes I can't make it because it's difficult with work. So I was grateful that it was on a Saturday today, and also to support a beautiful being such as Eric and Manijeh, who has a special place in my heart. And I also want to thank Eric, even though Eric has no idea what I've been going through. But Eric, your emails have been keeping me going, and your positive words, and you know, even editing our podcast brought a lot of light into my life. So indirectly you didn't know, but I want to give thanks to you as well. And you know, listening to Matthew and Randy still here is beautiful. So I'm grateful for all the hard things that we've all been going through, because it does create a different aspect in ourselves. So I'm really grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Yeah, you're very special yourself. Thank you. Yeah. So Arma, you're having your
Okay. When you were asking how 2020, can you all hear me? Because I've been quiet all morning, so my voice is a little bit, but can you understand me? Okay. So the two words that came to me when you were asking how 2022 was joy and love and a river. So I think of my life as a flowing river, and difficulties do come in between, but my job is to keep going. You know, I look at the water and it goes up and down. In a river, there could be a big tree trunk on the way or a big boulder, but the water either goes up or sideways or underneath, but it keeps flowing. And that's what the river is clean. If you compare that with a pond is stagnant and it gathers a lot of moss and it never changes. You know, I mean, it never gets cleaned. You know, river is like a self-cleaning instrument. It keeps going. And two things I learned about life is that, you know, the most important thing is to just love people. I mean, it's not like I don't get mad at people or I don't have expectations, but then I understand at the end, if I know the other person is asking for companionship and forgiveness, I should just be just loving. And that has really worked for me. And I wake up in the morning and I feel joy because I feel like, wow, one more good day in my life. I want you guys to know that I turned 80 this year. So for me, each day that is given to me by Lord, God, Paramatma is wonderful. So I don't have nothing to complain about, just gratitude. And I'm not just saying these words because I actually feel it. And that's what I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Sama. Yes. By the way, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Because my eyes, I can't see, it's too
No,
small.
you're right. Swarna.
Swarna. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad. So great. I think that if anybody has a burning desire to share your story, we can do that. Otherwise, we can go to our speaker, Eric, And then also we'll have a chat after he gives a little presentation, and we can continue with that. I think that might be useful for time management. Is that okay, Matthew? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to what Eric has to say.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
So Eric, I will pin you to the, let's see, as a speaker. Please go ahead and also tell us a little bit about yourself, since we haven't said much about your background, and then go with your presentation. Are you there?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Manijeh and Matthew, for this opportunity and for asking me to just give a little talk this month. I love, just sharing this practice with people. And I have, like Claudia, I as well have a special place in my heart for you, Manijeh. Manijeh is really so kind that she has allowed me to attend classes, even though I have a limited income and I'm not able to afford tuition. So she offers me scholarships. So, just thank you to her, a big thank you. And, for me and to all the others that, you allow do that. It's so, taking these classes are such a necessity for people. And, but some people don't have, the means to afford them. So, I can't thank you enough. When I was asked to give a talk this month, I was kind of like searching and what am I going to talk about? And all of a sudden it popped in my head. Well, you just finished the 2022 UCLA, what's called Trained Mindfulness Facilitation Program, the TMF program. How about a talk? And it's also the end of the year. Why not give a talk on being mindful or remembering to remain mindful around the endings and beginnings in our life? I tend to find myself often, finding myself or catching myself spending time in reflection, contemplating how, the previous year went, kind of taking stock and inventory, and then also imagining how the upcoming year is going to be, what's on the horizon. And it's not that there's anything wrong with this, but the purpose of this talk is to point out some of the different themes that may show up that potentially may cause suffering, that sometimes our attention may get constricted around any particular object in these themes. And as a result of that, may develop tunnel vision around this unpleasant or negative aspect. And I thought I would, just discuss some of the themes that I'm experiencing at this moment. And as I shared, one of them is just completing the TMF program at UCLA, which in 2021, that was my New Year's resolution to apply. And then in 2022 was to complete it. And now here I am, I just finished it. And now there's that feeling of accomplishment, but there's also that, well, what's to come? What's next? And the uncertainty of that. Am I, are people going to be open to what I have to say, to my teachings, or attend any of my classes? Are they even going to care? So, but once I notice that happens, I can use my mindfulness practice to then focus on other aspects of, letting go of the fear and the attachment and also notice my thoughts and start exercising discernment in my thinking to start evaluating what the Buddha called wholesome thoughts versus unwholesome, or what Joseph Goldstein calls skillful thinking versus unskillful thinking. And it's important to do this as we reflect on those New Year's resolutions that we set. For me, it was the TMF program. Another New Year's resolution that I struggle with is maintaining a healthy weight, which is very important for me now that I suffer from chronic pain. And as someone who used to weigh 300 pounds in their life, I struggle with maintaining a healthy weight. And at the moment, I'm about 5 or 10 pounds heavier than I would like to be, but there's been a lot of holiday eating. And when I notice that there's this critic that comes in, or this judge that's name calling, you know, maybe calling myself fatty, or there you go again, gaining weight, I can then notice that self-talk and start bringing in some loving kindness, or also question that thinking and start to factor in that I no longer weigh 300 pounds, that I've lost a significant amount of weight, and to not beat myself up over those 5 or 10 pounds, and to still allow myself to indulge from time to time and enjoy some of the goodness during the holidays, especially on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Another reflection that may come up for us is mourning and grief as we reflect throughout the year. As far as we may have experienced loss in some type of way. Maybe a business closed and is no longer, a restaurant, or one of our favorite places to eat is no longer there. And we're kind of just, or maybe a component, maybe there's a particular dish that we liked at a restaurant and that's no longer there, an ending. Or maybe the relationships in our life. A particular relationship ends, a friendship, a romantic relationship. Another one begins, and all of the different thoughts, emotions, when relationships are beginning as well. For me, I've been mourning there's also the loss of social roles in whether it be at work. For me, this past month, my mom was diagnosed with early onset dementia. And more, I'm stepping into the role of caregiver for her, which is a new beginning. And then what's ending is that role of her ability to be able to do that for me. And there's a lot of grief for my brother and I involved in that, as I reflect and mourn the loss of that role. But I use the practice of mindfulness. What a lot of people were sharing is the gratitude to when I start constricting my thinking or resisting that I don't want to be going through this, or that life is unfair. I start thinking about all of the support I have in my life, my support network, the connection hours to be able to talk about these type of things and receive support from everyone here. Or I can also be grateful that my mom is still alive, that there are many people who have had parents that have passed away while they were children. So I'm even grateful that I'm in the position and capable of being able to be a caregiver for her, that I'm around, and she has that to rely on or to depend on me. And then we have, ways that we can experience suffering as we're reflecting on the year in the broader context outside of us. As the pandemic is coming, it seemed like it was coming to an end and we weren't having to wear the mask anymore. But, let's not get, it's making a comeback, but who knows? Is it beginning? Is it ending? And now that people are out more and socializing and traveling, the inflation has skyrocketed. So even if you do want to leave your home, can you afford it now? So all these different endings and beginnings. And now and then there's the presidential election that's just around the corner as well. And the possibility, I cringe even saying it, that, we might have a certain person in the White House. So with all of these different ways that we can experience additional stress and suffering, on top of, as we reflect on the year, on top of, all of our normal life of having to go to work, tending for our families, this additional stress, what are some of the ways, practices that when we lose our equanimity, as impermanence is happening, impermanence is that life is constantly changing, just like snowflakes, no two moments are ever the same. What are some of the ways that we can restore balance? And one of them, which everyone was beautifully articulating, was how they use gratitude in their everyday life when they notice their awareness begin to start constricting around some of the unpleasant aspects of a situation or an experience. Instead, they focus on the silver lining of the situation, the good as far as the pandemic and how it's connected us internationally, and how I've met the acquaintance of Matthew through that by having classes now being offered online, and how grateful I am for meeting his acquaintance, including Claudia, and how these relationships are blossoming by attending Connection Hour. And that's all was due because of the pandemic. And it's caused us to, develop additional relationships in addition to the ones that we already have, opening up our social networks and our circles, which has been so beautiful, rewarding and fulfilling. So we can do gratitude practice whenever we notice awareness constricts. Another one is negative visualization, which comes from more the Stoic tradition, which is Greek philosophy. And that's the opposite of gratitude practice. Instead of, if you find yourself in an unpleasant situation or, thinking about a negative object, think how the situation or the experience can get worse in any type of way. An example of this is I remember my father growing up as a child from time to time used to drive me down to Skid Row in downtown LA. And it happened a couple times, but I just remember that that was one of the things that really stuck with me. And he always told me that, son, if you ever think that you have it bad off in life, just come down here and take a look around. And that was his way of practicing negative visualization, of, thinking about how things can be worse off. And as you perform that thought experiment, gratitude just kind of naturally seeps in. You start being thankful and appreciative for all of the things that are already present. So those are two practices, and they complement each other nicely: gratitude and negative visualization. And another practice that I like to use is called investigative awareness. And this is from Diana Winston, the director of the Mindful Awareness Research Center at UCLA, the director of education. In her book, it's called The Little Book of Being. And she has a type of awareness that's called investigative awareness. And in this type of practice, what we do is, instead of focusing on the breath or sounds, we become very curious and use our thoughts as the anchor, deconstructing our thoughts and analyzing them with complete openness and radical curiosity, almost as if we're like dissecting them under a microscope in a laboratory. And now I have a final practice, like an experiential practice about investigative awareness. If we have enough time, how much time do we have left? What time is it now?
So Manijeh's on mute. It's 10 more minutes to go.
10 more minutes to go? Okay,
So
I'll
we
make it.
want to also make sure we leave a little bit of time for Q&A with
Okay.
people. Yeah.
Okay. I invite everyone to find a comfortable posture with your eyes closed, open or veiled. I will ring the bell once to start the practice, 3 times to signal its end. And again, instead of using the breath or listening to sounds, we're going to use focusing on our thoughts. If you like, you can take a couple of deep breaths, or if it makes more sense, perhaps a slow, long inhalation and exhalation as initial way of arriving and settling into the practice. Allowing the breath to find its own natural rhythm without trying to control it. Once you're able to find your rhythm, directing attention to the very top of the head and scanning the body to explore any areas where you may be experiencing tension, holding, or stress. And as you're scanning the body, if you do notice any areas where there's holding, clinging, or tension, is it possible to relax, soften, release as best you can any areas where you may be experiencing unnecessary stress, holding? If even just for a little bit. I'm going to ask you to gather your attention, and instead of directing it onto your breath or listening to sounds and using that object as an anchor, I invite you to notice your thoughts you're experiencing on a moment-to-moment basis, the process of thinking, and using your thoughts as an anchor, beginning with starting to notice as you become aware of a thought, where in the thought do you notice or become aware of it? Does this happen in the beginning of the thought, in the end of it, or perhaps in the middle? As you're becoming aware of the thoughts, what type of thoughts, what type of thinking is present at this moment? If you like, you can attach a soft mental label: planning, judging, worrying, remembering, imagining. Does the thinking that's happening at this moment have a particular tone? Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Is there a theme in the thinking that's happening at this moment? Or is the thinking instead more scattered, loosely associated, bouncing around? Are there any stories in the thinking that's happening right now? Is the thinking that's happening open and expansive, or narrow and constricted? And then checking in with our bodies, what bodily sensations are present along with this thinking? Is there any tension, or is there more fluidity? And as we wind down this practice, letting go of noticing our thoughts, using the process of thinking as an anchor. And for those of you who would like, coming back to your bodies one last time to perform a final body scan, to check in and explore if you happen to notice any benefits from just practicing. If you do notice any benefits, try to seal them in for you to take with you throughout your day and to use as a reference point of what's readily available for you to access. at any moment.
Thank you, Eric. This was beautiful. Thank you. And I would say, you know, if you didn't get a chance to have enough silence to utilize the instructions, we're gonna upload this thing on YouTube, the recording, and you could make a note of the instructions and do them actually with any of your thoughts afterwards as a reflection, as a journaling process as well. Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you,
Thank you, Manijeh.
Eric. So maybe we can open it to any questions or comments. By the way, I just, as a time manager here, we have 1 minute to 11. If anybody needs to hop off at 11, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, we'll stay another 10, 15 minutes after party sort of a thing, and maybe share some more about this practice that Eric offered us. Thank you. Any questions, comments for Eric?
I just want to say thank you for that meditation, Eric. I never used that to use the thoughts as an anchor. I thought that was really profound and able to see like which points you catch yourself, where in the thought is, are you involved, and where is the story? And I think it's a beautiful way to reel yourself back in, and not throw out your energy into things that are not in the present moment, right? These stories that we build and we get raptured into, and then 30 minutes later or the entire day you've lost yourself in a story that isn't what's happening now. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Claudia.
Go ahead, yes.
I have one question from Eric. Thank you for a very nice meditation. You said something about, after you said wholesome versus unwholesome, you had something else that you said that I missed.
Joseph Goldstein, he uses the word skillful versus unskillful instead of wholesome.
Okay, skillful versus okay. Another question is that honestly, I didn't have any thought. So I thought, so my thought was, I have no. Is that weird? Or, I mean, my brain was completely like blank.
No, from time to time, there are different types of awareness. So for some people who are more concentrated, it's easier for them to focus on the breath. So, performing this type of exercise, it kind of doesn't make sense for them. But I find this particular exercise helpful when I'm trying to meditate or focus, and then I feel scattered or like something's on my mind. And then it's like it's pulling my attention and my energy away from what I'm trying to do. And I find that instead of trying to push it away, to actually lean into what's distracting me or pulling my attention, but instead to do it with more of this investigative awareness, a more detached.
So you're saying that if I think that I have no thought, so I should investigate?
No, it's just a different technique. It's not that one meditation or exercise is better than the other. A lot of this is depending, like what exercise I'll choose is what's going on in my awareness at that moment. And during this time of year, I often catch myself reflecting And so, especially on how the previous year went. And sometimes as I'm doing that, my attention starts to go down some dark alleys that aren't so pleasant. And it's important to remain curious as it does this. And if we're open to it, to investigate from a more detached space in order to exercise more discernment with our thinking rather than this narrow, constricted either or type of thinking.
Thank you, Eric.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. Yeah. So these are different techniques so that we're not just stuck with one and we are unable to accomplish that one. That was a great option. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Manijeh.
Anybody